Welcome back to another episode of Card John, powered by CollX and Car Dealer Pro. I'm David. He is Alex. Alex Delco Rips on Instagram, and we have Frank DiNote, head of private sales at Goldin. Fun episode in store, talking about the ins and outs of what Frank does for a living, working at Goldin, and talking to all the celebrities and athletes in the world, and the little background of Frank. So, Frank, welcome to Card John.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Pleasure to be here, gentlemen. Excited.
Yeah, pumped to have you on. So, I guess we'll start off, not that it's boring, but a little background, of you and how you got started working at Goldin, working with Ken. So tell us, the listeners, the viewers, how you got started working for Goldin and how long you've been at the company. And obviously you're head of private sales right now.
Yeah. So I've been at Goldin. I think I'm about to celebrate my 8th year there. I think I'm our second or third longest tenured employee. I was our financial controller for the first, 5 years that I was with the company. When Ken sold the company back in 2020, I moved into head of special projects, building out our vault, did that for a year, and then moved into head of private sales for the past 2 years. It's an absolutely amazing job. I spend my days talking with individuals about high-value trading cards, game-used jerseys, cleats, bats, finding new homes for these high-end collectibles. My job is honestly probably the dream of just about every red-blooded American male or sports fan.
Yeah. Are you always on call?
24/7.
Yeah.
Actually, when Ken found me through a headhunter way back when, and the first question that Ken asked me in my interview is, "What type of employee are you?" My question was 24/7. I knew right then and there that I had the job with Ken. Ken, while he's a good poker player, had a big tell in our interview at least. And in this job, you have to be 24/7. The most difficult aspect of our job on our side is our consigners, our sellers. They have a financial interest in the assets, and they have a passion with it as well. So you're combining something that people love along with a monetary value. So you have to get it right. Mm-hmm.
How has the and I imagine as your Rolodex of connections grows over time. So I'm sure you're at a point now where if someone has a mantle, whatever, John Smith, who I worked 6 months ago, is looking for a mantle. I guess how much has your connections grown from one collector to another to grow? What I'm saying, grow your Rolodex of clients.
That's the best part of the job is the networking aspect, the people that you're meeting. My Rolodex is full of 1%ers, which is awesome. It's a good problem to have, right?
You're going to probably some nice steak dinners.
But I do get there's a few perks that come with my job. Yeah. Learning about people's collections is one of the more entertaining aspects, right? Because everyone has a specific thing that they want to collect or how they go about getting their collectibles. And learning that about each individual collector is a very fun experience. And yeah, like you said, when somebody comes to me yesterday, somebody came to me with a 52 Topps PSA mantle that they want to sell.
What's the grade?
A PSA 8.
Oh, 8.
Yeah. Great card.
It's $100.
Yeah, $100 all day. So, right away, boom, I know I have 3 guys looking for this, right? So those, the guy that I think is most likely to buy is going to get the first call.
Yeah. Frank, I got one question. So when you're, you get to see all these people with these crazy collections, you talk about the 1%. I think everybody listening, all of our watchers and viewers, they definitely want to be in that one day. They want to be eccentric enough to have collected something that would be worthy of a house call, right? So is there any characteristics of those collectors that you kind of do those house calls for that we can kind of aspire to?
I think the individuals that you're speaking about, what they have is the ability to foresee value in the future, right? My biggest game used buyer, he constantly talks about iconic moments, right? And I think the specific people in this industry have a innate ability to identify future value, right? It's the speculation aspect, right? One of the reasons that we've seen growth in this industry is people speculating on the younger athletes, right? Some people are just really, really good at that. I think at the end of the day, what you collect should be more about what you enjoy collecting. And if you happen to have something that you can 10 extra money on in the future, that's great. But I know the things I buy, I'm buying because I like to look at them. I like to know that I own them more so than, everything I buy. I hope long term I can either make my money back or profit on. But at the end of the day, I think collecting should be about what you love versus trying to make a dollar.
And then when you go to shows, and we've seen you at a lot of shows, probably the same shows we go to, you're at, and vice versa. But if you go to a show and see a mantle, like we were at the Mint Collective, which we saw you there. A guy had 3 Mickey mantles. One was like a PSA 1. I was like, I don't know, I forget the number, so forgive me, people on the internet. It was like maybe say it was 100K, right? Like, are you going up to his table like, hey, I could make a deal with you, or you're kind of like not attacking, connecting with the people at the shows to get that, say, hey, I can get you a deal for that?
To me, shows are more about networking than about specifically trying to close a deal here or there. Obviously, anytime you're at a show, you want to have the revenue, you want to make sales. But to me, it's about being at a show is about connecting, right? It's about networking, developing a relationship so that I can then help you in the future. My interest in helping you as a collector doesn't have to be immediate. What can I buy or sell for you right to now? It's let's build a relationship. Let's learn about how I can help you, how I can add value.
Yep.
At the Mint show, that was 3 months ago.
Yep.
I met a seller there. He had a booth. Went up, talked to him. He had a nice display of cards. Didn't try to sell him on anything at the moment. Just handed him my card and said, hey, if you don't move anything here, you want to try our auctions, you've never done business with us. And I didn't leave that show with inventory from him, but a month later he called me and gave me about 200K worth of items for auction.
Yeah, I bet you that does happen to you a lot, where like you said, you talk to someone in September and then they hit you up in February because they're finally ready to make that decision to like level up or level down or sell more inventory.
Absolutely.
You talked to us, and both, this is public, but also the Joe Montana collection. Where you had a bird's eye view. You spent time with Joe at his home, which is a cool experience. So tell us how that went about. Obviously, a lot of that, the Goldin Joe Montana collection is already done.
Yeah.
It did great. I know he was selling like a car. Like
we sold
he sold everything, but I think his kitchen sink.
We did. We sold everything from Joe's collection except for his 4 Super Bowl rings. He has 4 children, and it worked out. He wanted to keep the rings for his children.
So he has nothing but the rings.
No. Wow. I took everything. So Ken and Joe have had a relationship for going back to the 80s, right? Ken was his marketing manager in the 80s. So when Joe decided to sell, it just made sense that he went with, again, the relationship factor. He went with Ken. One of the cooler aspects of my job is when we get a collection from a professional athlete, I'm the one that goes out and gets the collection. Back in 2018 with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, with Joe, I spent a week at Joe's ranch in Northern California. It was an amazing experience. To say that Joe and his wife were friendly and welcoming would be an understatement. They cooked me lunch every day for the week that I was there. They cooked me dinner every day for the week that I was there. We drank multiple bottles of wine per day after we got done inventorying everything. But that experience was, you can look at it and, I would wake up at 3 a.m., California time, drive an hour to Joe's ranch because it took 15 minutes just to get up the mountain, and then once you got up the mountain, it took another 15 minutes just to get up his driveway.
Jeez.
Spending a week there, and it's not just about touching the items and viewing them. The time with Joe, sitting down at lunch or dinner, sharing a bottle of wine and talking about the experiences from his playing days, talking to him about the current state of the NFL. That stuff was amazing. And the top item that we sold from Joe was his Super Bowl 19 and 23 game used jersey. So After I had cleared out Joe's gym, I went into his garage that was attached to the gym, and him and I are looking at a wall of boxes. And it's 20, 25 boxes that have clearly been there for 2+ decades, right? These are old-looking boxes. And he puts his arm around me and he says, Frankie, baby, I don't know why, but you're going to find something cool over there. I don't know what it is. I said, okay, Joe. And I go through the first boxes like newspaper clippings, second box is just generic T-shirts. I get to the 5th or 6th box and I see a plastic Acme shopping bag, and it's tied up in a knot.
Oh no!
And I start to peel it open, and as I open it, I see a yellow Post-it note that just says Super Bowl 19-23. And I pull it out, and it's a red jersey, and I can see it's worn, right? And I called Joe. I said, Joe, I need you down here immediately because I'm cooking lunch. We'll deal with it after lunch. I said, no, this is an immediate get down here. Comes down, and as he walks into the garage, I'm holding the jersey up. And as soon as he walks in, his eyes just bug out his head, and he goes, I haven't seen that jersey in 25 years. He goes, I wore that in 2 Super Bowls. And I said, Joe, I hope your memory's correct. I said, we're gonna photo match this. And the coolest part about, as cool as that is, in Super Bowl 19, Joe wore this jersey, won Super Bowl MVP. In Super Bowl 23, the 49ers had different jerseys by then. When Joe's wife was packing his suitcase, she packed his Super Bowl from Super Bowl 19, said, you played so well in this, why not try to wear it again? Right? The superstition factor. Mm-hmm. So when you watch Super Bowl 23, Joe has a different jersey on than every other 49ers.
Really? So it's like a lighter or
right. There was an extra, I think he had 4 white stripes on his sleeve.
Makes it easy to photo match.
Yeah, it made it easy to photo match.
That honestly adds to the item tremendously.
Like the
probably only
story behind it. Think about it. To have the game used jersey of an NFL quarterback, and then you take it to the cream of the crop, Joe Montana, and then you add in the whole, he wore a jersey that he shouldn't been wearing. That, to me, that is the single coolest item I've ever.
What did that sell for?
That did $1.2 million.
Wow.
That was the highest of that?
That was the highest Joe Montana item. Yeah.
So when you get all these items from Montana, how are you shipping these back? Is this like private security? Like,
yeah.
Are you on a jet by yourself?
No,
with like 20 U-Haul boxes or something?
So there has been a pickup or two where Ken will go with me, and we'll go on the private jet that Ken uses, and we'll bring a few items back. When we did I spent 5 weeks last year in Utah getting the Karl Malone collection.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second.
That's a situation where we brought some stuff back on the plane. With most cases like Montana, when you're dealing with such a large collection, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of pieces. You can't take that on a private plane.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is you'll rent, you'll get a FedEx White Glove, UPS, where you can get an 18-wheeler that is
just
only for you, right? So you load up the truck. I'm actually locking the truck with my own padlock that the drivers can't access. You're not only that, you're locking it with bands that have numeric codes on them, so that when you get back to New Jersey, you can verify that none of this has been tampered with.
Yeah. Alex, I know we talked earlier about the Karl Malone thing. Do you want to?
Yeah. So I think with the Joe Montana and the Karl Malone thing, I think the one thing we wanted to ask you was, we've seen a lot of, you're talking a lot about professional athletes and kind of cashing in on all this memorabilia they've collected. Can you talk about, kind of have other athletes seen that trend and started to kind of collect their own stuff, collect game used? Like, are they noticing, how strong the game used market is?
100%. So you are seeing with today's athletes, the individuals that are still playing, these individuals are keeping their stuff, and they are going through the authentication process almost immediately. We have a few major name players that are in professional sports today, where we have their collections in our vault. They'll wear a jersey on a Monday night, and then 2 weeks later, it's shipped to us. We're getting it photo matched in real time, and then storing it in our vault until that player is ready to do something with it in the future.
Yeah, it's funny you say that about like athletes like now are realizing, because when I see an athlete like give away their jersey or even trade a jersey with another player, like that was a big game, like that's some money there.
Is it the jersey swap the common way that they're kind of acquiring that? Is that what you see? Like when they do the jersey swaps, are some of those athletes like hanging those up and authenticating them as game used?
Most of the guys that are doing jersey swaps, they're keeping those jerseys for themselves. There's been a few collections where, even with Joe, where you go through it and you see an item and he's like, no. So-and-so gave that to me. I don't want to sell that. So I think like with the jersey swaps and stuff, guys are keeping those for their own memories, their own nostalgia. Guys preparing their own collections and ensuring that the jersey that I wore in this game stays with my team, goes back to my personal collection. That is, I think we're seeing a lot more of. You talk to players from the 80s and 90s and they're like, man, I don't have a single item. Like I didn't keep a single thing. So it's something that they've caught on to now.
I want to talk about the Netflix show next, so maybe we could go back to the Karl Malone thing as well, because it's really interesting, that whole thing that you did with Malone and the Dream Team and stuff. But the Netflix show came out. How has that done? Has that done or helped Goldin grow into more? Have you guys gotten busier since the show got out?
We have. I feel when the show first aired, I actually felt bad for Ryan, Dave, and Carlo, our 3 sales guys that are on the show, because they were so overwhelmed with DMs on Facebook and Instagram, in addition to the emails. The Netflix show has definitely broadened our audience. We've seen in the first month after the Netflix show, I think we were setting a new record every day for 30 consecutive days on the number of new registrants. So we've seen the number of bidders grow quickly. So it has been a huge help. I have to imagine that it's going to get picked up. I don't know that it will, but
I'm sure it will.
It was a wildly popular show. It made the top 10 in 12 different countries.
Yeah.
That to me has to have some legs to it.
I've now remembered the question I was asking you about Karl Malone. When an item is personalized from another athlete, do you think that helps or hurts that item?
So if let's say Michael Jordan is inscribing a jersey and he inscribes it to Frank, I don't think that helps the value. When Michael Jordan is inscribing and signing a jersey to Karl Malone, I think that adds value. And I had a passionate discussion, I will say, with a high-end collector on the day of the Dream Team auction closing. I ran that auction. It was my job to entice bids out of people, to be the guy, on the phone with everyone. And I'm on the phone with him, and he's a high-end game use collector. This is right. These items are right for him. He said, I don't like the fact that they're signed. I think that takes away the value. I said, you got to think about who they're signed to, though. They're signed to the best power forward in the history of the NBA. The NBA's 3rd all-time leading scorer. Like,
it's not some random Carl.
This isn't Joe Smith. This isn't Carl Jones, who works in insurance sales in Omaha. This is Karl Malone. Like that, to me, that added value. I thought that added value. But again, if it's to me, to you, no, that's not adding value.
Is there, during your tenure, like you said, you've seen a lot of cool stuff from Joe Montana to Karl Malone. Is there any items that you haven't seen yet or know that are out there that you're chasing after? Like what's the next big item besides like a PSA 9 or 10 Mickey Mantle or a Dream Team signed jerseys?
So I've held the PSA 9 mantle. I've held, I think, 5 Honus Wagners at this point.
We've held one too, but we still haven't washed.
Cool, right?
We're in the elusive club.
We still haven't washed our hands since then.
To me, the PSA 10 mantle, that is probably That's
Who owns that,
probably-
by the way? It's a
There's
one,
three. There's three in the world. I know who two of the owners are. Ken knows who the third owner is. I don't know what I have to do to gain Ken's trust to find out who that third owner is.
It's owner of a sports team, right?
Yes.
And then Marshall,
Yes.
and then the third owner is the mystery, right?
Correct.
Wouldn't one of those owners, again, I don't have a manual, so I can't, I'm not speaking on behalf of like having one, but like wouldn't one of the owners would want to set the market or like,
Look, I think when you're talking,
because if the 9 went so much, you can, I mean,
look,
I
if
can't
if
imagine
it, the
10 goes for it.
PSA 10 manual sold today, I can tell you that there was a $25 million offer last year. That was, I mean, not even, I don't even want to say it was turned down. It was just, don't even bring that to me. I think you're talking about individuals that are so well off. I have to imagine selling the card for $25-30 million to them, that doesn't change their day, right? So
You can't buy it back.
you can't buy it back.
There's no
right?
buying another one for the same comp, you know?
That is something one of my high-end collectors said to me recently, because I gave him a price on an item that was head and shoulders above what he should get. He said, look, I agree with you. I'm not going to get that price anywhere else, but I'm never going to be able to buy this card back. So that's what it comes down to, is can you replace it, right? Like I have one guy who in his mind, like the market's ever evolving. Today is a good day to say sell player X. I'll sell him today even though I love this card because I think he's going to have a bad year and I'm going to buy him back at the end of the year cheaper. Guys do stuff like that.
I do think it's cool though that like whoever has, I mean, the 3 people that own the mantle, like even last year at the National, like the person who had the SGC 9, right?
Yeah,
Like they went on like a PR tour for like 2-3 weeks and like they were the face. Like it was not just the card, but it was also the story of how they got the card. So I think it's kind of cool that like that's a little play to it too. Like they're getting popularity. Not that any of these people would want more publicity to them, but like that comes with territory these days with high-end cards.
Think about it. Everyone who was at National last year went to the booth to see that mantle card. Everyone who was at National last year went to the display to see the Jordan shoes. There's some things that they need to be seen, deserve to be seen, and anybody who has an interest in the greater scheme is going to want to put their eyes on it.
Yeah. What do you collect personally? Like, what do you? Obviously, you're in cards during the day and wheeling and dealing, but I'm sure you collect yourself as well.
I do. I collect game used items. Mainly, I used to collect only Philadelphia athletes, but I have, as I've gotten older, I have a greater appreciation for non-Philadelphia athletes more and more. Not that I have anything against
Joe Montana.
I'm a Philly guy through and through, but I see the value in collecting outside of my favorite players, right? So game used jerseys, I like. I just bought my second game used bat and my first pair of game used Mike Trout cleats.
Nice.
Very excited. 2014 MVP season, both signed. Pretty excited about those. My girlfriend much less excited. But there's a nice
sure you're
spot.
like, check these out.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are those?
She fakes interest in cards pretty well. I'll say that. I do collect cards. Jackie Robinson and Kobe Bryant. Kobe on card autos and anything Jackie Robinson I'll collect.
Where do you see the hobby a year from now?
Continuing to grow. I think that people truly enjoy this hobby. I think there's a lot of great aspects about it. I think the nostalgia of collecting, especially like baseball, basketball cards, were such a fun thing when you're a young kid, and it's an easy thing to enjoy, and it doesn't have to be. It can be wildly expensive, but it doesn't have to be wildly expensive, and it's something that, you know, like we talked about earlier, there's a financial aspect to it and the passion. And I think when you can combine those two things, that makes for a lot of growth potential.
Last question here on Card, John. Frank, we appreciate your time. What's it like working for Mr. Ken Goldin?
It's a challenge. I used to always tell employees, if you can make it 6 months here, you can probably make it anywhere. Ken, I think, is a phenomenal boss. I absolutely love working for him. I told Ken years ago, when I'm done working for you, I'll never work for another person. I'll go right into business for myself. Ken's been a great mentor to me. He's difficult, but he's wildly successful. You're not going to be wildly successful by just rolling over and doing what other people ask you to do. I love working for Ken, and he's been a great mentor, and I'm going to enjoy working for him until the day he retires.
Love it. How can people follow you, or if they have their own PSA 10 Mickey Mantles, how should they get in touch with you?
You can reach me on Instagram, DiNote32, DINOTE32, or Goldin_private_sales. I'm on each every day, or you can go to goldin.co and then just email me direct from our Meet Our Experts page.
Awesome. This is a great episode. We learned a lot. And I guess hopefully one day Alex and I will have something big enough to come to you and be like,
you know what?
Frank, you make me a quick 10K, buddy.
I hope I can. I hope I can.
Very cool. All right. That was Frank DiNote, head of private sales at Goldin. And thanks for watching the latest episode of Car John, powered by CollX and Car Dealer Pro.